Hey everybody, this is Brady J. Sadler.
And this is Adam.
And you have found the Joint Operations Podcast. This is episode 6, which we're calling Mission 1, just to be confusing, right?
Or your first mission, our first mission, something about our first mission. So.
We're playing it really close, down to the wire this time, because usually we record like almost a week in advance, and this time we're recording on a Monday to release on a Tuesday. So I'll name the episode when I actually put the graphic together on my good old Canva. Because how did I become the resident graphic designer, the most untalented?
Because I don't want to do it. I don't want to spend. I don't have the desire.
So don't say the time. Don't say the time. So yesterday, actually no, 2 days ago, because it is a Monday. We're off because of Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm off. You're off because
I'm off because I don't have a job, so I'm off every day.
Look at the bright side. You're always off. So on Saturday, I had my I think it was my second Barnes & Noble book signing that I've ever done, and it was in Carmel, Indiana. And I'm excited to say that I didn't know anybody, because usually I have people come in that I know, that either friends online, like, hey, I just want to come say hi, which is great. This time, didn't know anybody. Started off really slow. I was like, what am I doing here? It was like 2 hours of nothing. But then I ended up selling like 7 copies. And a lot of people just randomly came up and were interested in the art or whatever. So
is that New York Times bestseller?
You have to get 8. So I was
almost there.
I was one off, but maybe next time. But yeah, it was pretty fun. I met some cool people, and just good energy there. I like sitting in bookstores. And next week I'll be back home, the hometown, Lafayette, Indiana, on Saturday the 19th. So,
Lafayette, Indiana.
What did I say?
You just said it as one word. Lafayette, Indiana.
Because I'm from there. That's what you say, Lafayette, Indiana. So any Lafayette fans, anybody who knows us from our Lafayette days, come say hi.
Lafayette.
Are you going to be there? Are you going?
What?
Are you going?
When is it?
On Saturday. 19th.
Maybe. Mom always wants me to come visit. So, Mom, if you're listening.
I know. I was going to say Mom's listening. So, Mom, give Adam a text. Make sure he comes too. Make a big day of it. You can set up a little table next to me. Be a meet and greet. Anyway, so that it'll be the joint operations table as opposed to just my author table. But we've had a pretty busy week working on missions and playing the new Kill Team that finally came in. So this is the first episode we've had where Kill Team has been in our hands, right? Because we got it when the last episode dropped. So
yeah, it was because it came. We got it like on Tuesday last week.
It came when the episode dropped. So
I was actually doing some freelance. I started doing some freelance work for a company. Luckily, it's iOS development, so I could keep myself in practice while I'm looking for a job. This was my first time doing freelance iOS development work, so it was a cool experience. There was a local startup company that had an app they were working on that was crashing out of nowhere, so they needed someone to take a look at it. The good news is I fixed their crash, refactored some of their code, made the app a little better, so that was a cool experience, but kind of distracted me, unfortunately, from digging into my Kill Team shipment right when it came in. But we did get this week we got to play 3 games of joint up. We haven't actually played straight up PvP yet.
But I think we know the rules well enough that there wasn't.
There were some subtle changes that actually might make it a little. We know the game well enough now where I think the game would be pretty quick. But we wanted to kind of jump right into the joint ops, so we played the first mission, the first 2 missions, and then we'll probably talk more about this, obviously. But we designed one that we play tested last night, which went pretty well.
Yeah, I think, we can go into depth on that, like kind of a little breakdown of the mission and design and like narratively where it takes place, but it'd be cool if we can aim, I don't want to like overpromise, but if we can aim every time we drop an episode, we drop a mission along with it and talk about it. It's not that much work.
It's more work for you probably for laying it all out, but
I know
whatever keeps you busy, I guess.
I've already set it up, and I think like we mentioned before, it's more like just kind of getting our minds in that space where we used to design a lot. We don't design much anymore, and I don't think we've ever really designed just for fun. We've always designed for money. We've always designed because we had a contract.
Well, when we first started, we did.
Yeah, tinkering around, but never like finished an actual thing. So
I guess that speaks a lot for a game that we're excited about because it makes us want to just design stuff just for ourselves. And also, people listening might be interested in, which would be cool. But it also the product alone kind of necessitates it because the joint ops is awesome that they included in the game, and we'll talk more about this in like probably a full review later in this episode of our thoughts on Kill Team. But the joint ops only has 3 missions. One of them is very basic, just like kill the enemies, and then the 2 other ones are pretty easy as well. But it kind of encourages you to make your own, design your own.
It's very much a framework because, like we were talking about upstairs too, before we dug really hard into like the narrative aspect of the design. It is kind of tricky if you're putting too much narrative in the joint ops, because you want to make it playable by any kill team. Like whether you're not playing Chaos, you're playing some Xenos, you're playing whatever, like the narrative should make sense for whoever the players are controlling. And also because you can team up however you want. We can play Chaos with Space Marines if we wanted to, which is crazy, but it's doable. So the narrative has to reflect that, but at the same time, we're kind of doing an approach where we're following along with what GW is releasing. I've never been good at like fan fiction, so like I don't know how like narrative we'll get, but we'll add some like little hooks in there where the products that make sense when they come out. Like here's an example. We just saw the news today, and we'll just jump into the Kill Team anyway. Banter's done. We're done with banter right now. Let's go to Kill Team.
Segue. Let's segue into Kill Team here.
So we just saw the news today that there was the new starter box announcement, which was remind me, it was Space Marines and it was Death Guard, and some cool MDF terrain they're doing,
which is new because most of the time when they do terrain, it's plastic terrain sets, which
say hi, Riley?
Which is cool and all.
No, say hi louder.
Hi.
Thanks for the water, Riley. Anyway, go ahead. MDF terrain. I had to get some water from my
daughter. So they usually do these plastic sets of terrain, which is cool because plastic is durable and you can paint it up and stuff. I will admit, as much as I like painting miniatures, I do not enjoy painting terrain. However, I like having terrain, so it's a difficult conundrum for me to overcome where I want to keep buying all this terrain, but I never paint it. So this MDF terrain is obviously printed with graphics on it, so it's ready to go. You just punch it out. If you're not familiar with MDF terrain, it's laser cut on this board, MDF board.
It's like really thick. It's like really dense cardboard material that's really thick and sturdy.
And you punch it out like if it's punch board, and then you have this. I will say it can kind of stinky, like because MDF does have a distinct smell to it.
Well, it kind of depends because it's how they prepare it. Because it's usually laser cut, so like the laser cut is what burns it and makes it probably smell weird and has all that flaky.
Yeah, I think eventually, like if you let it air out, it kind of goes away after a while.
Yeah, the Black Site Studio stuff's all MDF, and my stuff doesn't really have a odor to it at all anymore. When you first get it, it does. But
yeah, I would just say don't box it up right away and like let it air out.
I am curious to see the quality, because my assumption would be, after seeing the images on the announcement article, is they might eventually do the Gallo Dark, which is kind of like that Space Hulk terrain they do for the Kill Team set. And I have that. I just haven't painted it because it's so many pieces, and it's also kind of tough to disassemble because they fit very snugly. So it's like you have to have like some leather gloves on or something to cram them together, and so you can work them. Maybe they loosen up after you do it a few times. But if they do that in MDF like format, that'd be like far superior, I think. So
yeah, I would actually prefer that in MDF, in that type of terrain.
But going off of that, because we're talking about the starter set, it's very convenient because the mission we were designing, which is called a Putrid Request, which you will, when this episode launches, you will be able to find it on jointoperationspodcast.com. We'll also post it on our social links. Join our Discord. You'll see it for sure.
We'll also probably share it in the Kill Team Facebook group that we joined.
A little bump for that group. Get some more members there.
If you're a fan of Kill Team, join that group.
So yeah, the mission is called a Putrid Request, and we conveniently decided, let's do it about Nurgle. We love fighting Nurgle because Nurgle's a great enemy. We love zombies. We love like Darktide fighting Poxwalkers.
Yeah, I've had this group of assembled Poxwalkers and Death Guard Marines ever since I think it was 2 editions ago, the 40k starter box. I bought that and it had the new Primaris Marines versus Death Guard, and I had them all assembled and primed, and I've just never gotten around to painting them. So this is a reason to actually start painting them, which I have done. I've started painting, which is fun.
Yeah, well, I think we'll share more images of our missions once we have more painted figures, because none of my stuff's painted, so it's going to be a while till I get my Ratlings and get them all painted. So we'll have hopefully more photo-friendly mission. Maybe we'll do like live streams when things are actually like looking better. But I just have this aversion to just primed miniatures. I never want to show them off. But anyway, yeah. So our mission is very Nurgle focused, which is convenient because we were working on it this morning. I was laying out some of the materials in the PDF, so we can get it ready to post. And we saw that the Warhammer community site just released the news about the starter set having Nurgle. I was like, oh, this is really convenient. Now people can like push their products. And
to go back to that starter set, I'm excited about it because it has a regular old Space Marine team, which I have a Phobos Marine team, but I'm not necessarily like that into the Phobos armor. Like I like the traditional Space Marine armor. So it's kind of cool to actually get a Space Marine team. The downside, and also Death Guard. The Death Guard miniatures look awesome as well. However, it looks like that starter box comes with like reference sheets for the kill teams as opposed to data cards, which is fine. But I hope they would sell the data cards, data card pack when that comes out as well, because I want the data cards. And also, if anybody at Games Workshop is listening, I really hate the data cards always listed as limited availability. They should be available for as long as the miniatures are available. That is my humble plea, is stop making them limited because the cards are awesome.
Do you ever think it's just because they know they're just doing like their refresh every time, so it's like
yeah, I'm sure it's like, oh, we have to refresh the rules, and if the rules change, it's better to do digitally. But if you're selling the miniatures, just sell the rules with them. Like,
I just meant like they're planning on doing, like, whenever they do a reprint of cards, they're assuming, well, it's going to be a new version anyway, so we'll just wait for the new version and we'll reprint the cards then.
I'm sure they think that, but the cards always sell out. Like, if you ever go looking for those card packs in like a few months after they're released, you can never find them anywhere because they sell so fast. So
yeah, I think it's just their product cycles.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a challenge for DW to keep all of their products in stock because they make so many different products. But that stresses me out when I'm like wondering if I can still get those cards if I decide to play that kill team months after they're released.
So if this was a video podcast, they'd have like a little what are they called? Chirons, like little text things pop up saying like Knowledge Corner or something, because this is a chance for me to learn some 40k stuff, because I still feel relatively new to the 40k setting. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. What's the difference between this Space Marine armor? I keep seeing people post about like, oh, I like the Terminator armor better. Oh, I like this armor better. Like,
it's just the style. Like typical Space Marine armor is what you're used to. Like in the show, in the game Space Marine 2, you see the general armor. The Vanguard and the Sniper class, they have Phobos armor, which is a little lighter.
Well, I know that, but like, is there was there a style change from like this? Because I remember always hearing Terminator armor. Is that just like a class, like Terminator?
Yeah, Terminator's a big, heavy guys. They usually tell because they have like the hooded armor, like where it's big on the shoulders.
I think I misunderstood a discussion online because I thought they were talking about like GW switching how they made the armor look, but they're just talking about like styles of like different classes.
Do you remember those from The Fifth Element, the movie with those aliens? They're like those big turtle things. Yeah. That's what Terminators are. They have the armor that goes over their shoulders, and their head kind of just sticks out like those aliens.
I didn't like, because when I saw that online, I saw someone sharing a picture. I'm like, that looks terrible. I don't like that at all. But now that playing the game and I see the Terminators, I can tell. I can see them when they're approaching.
They're actually just I think last year they just released new Terminator models because it's been so long since they refreshed them. When the Space Marine scale went up with Primaris, it basically boosted the scale of Space Marines in general. Yeah. So it's like, now we're big. Now we're the way we should be. And so they released Terminators in that scale as well.
Now we all know Knowledge Corner.
Now, to preface this is Adam speaking. I'm no expert in 40k. I just have been a fan for a while, and I know what I pick up. I don't study everything, so I might get things wrong.
But now we get called out on the Discord by the people who know everything. So
yeah, give us comments. Flame us with comments that we got stuff wrong, because then we get engagement. So
I don't want to get flamed. So that is the starter set that is just news to us. We just found out before recording, like maybe an hour ago. We saw that, which is cool. But it's convenient too, because I think when we were planning the mission, the future request, which is the mission we're designing, and by the way, when we post that, obviously any comments, feedback would be great, because it's kind of like a play test for us, like because we'd like to keep those updated. So if we have to make changes, we would just change the file on the website and keep it kind of updated with a change log or whatever.
It's been play tested once, and it was maybe if it's popular, maybe I will develop an app that keeps our missions, so you can just download our iOS app if you have an Android, I'm sorry, I don't do Android development. But
if you have Android, get an iPhone. Come on,
iPhone guys. If you want an app that keeps these missions in one place, maybe I'll do that, because that sounds like it might be fun.
Could be kind of cool too if we develop, because we were talking just like pipe dream stuff, but like designing campaign rules where your kill team gets upgrades, or the enemies you're fighting like persistently change over the course of several operations. But that'd be cool to have in the app too, just track all that stuff for you, because I think a lot of things come down to when we were playing the first two joint operations missions. And maybe this as a segue into the discussion we were talking about, because somebody asked us about what our thoughts were on the joint op rules as they stand. But like a lot of choices that you make during a game like matter a little less, because you just send guys in suicide bomb style just to like, oh, he'll get that objective, he's gonna get shot and killed, but at least we'll finish this mission and win. But having that weighted against, like, if we were playing a campaign and having a guy getting injured means a lot more, as opposed to just winning the mission, or having some consequences would add some weight to it. So I have no real complaints about how they structured the joint ops. It's really fun. The only thing I look for is more like meaning between your choices, because it's like, I mean, it's not even the problem with playing AI, because like if I'm playing against you, like I might do this, I'm making the same choices, but it's like they mean a little less to me, because like I don't care if my guy gets killed, whatever.
I guarantee that some of the plans that Games Workshop has for Kill Team, because they specifically call out in the rules, this joint ops is just to get you started. Future expansions will expand on this, which I honestly don't see a lot of in their old rule books. I don't usually see them like call out, hey, this is going to get expanded, even though it's assumed it's going to be. But that I feel like they're planning on doing these campaign co-op boxes. That'd because be cool, yeah. One thing that the Kill Team rule set does not include that the last edition did was Spec Ops, which was their built-in campaign rules, which I'm assuming they'll just come in a separate expansion as well. But they'll probably obviously do one, just a PvP one, and then here's this box that's the solo co-op campaign. And all this talk about Kill Team, we're kind of dancing around it, but maybe we should just talk about our thoughts on the new edition. Not like a structured review, but just discuss how we feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, I can go first, because my thoughts are probably less, or like fewer than yours, because you've been involved with the Kill Team longer than me. I've just been aware of it. I think the most I played it was the most recent version, or they call it edition, or whatever they call it, edition. The most recent one before this one, I played a little bit. I had a Imperial Navy team, and I didn't play the Kroot that I have. I never finished painting them, but I finished painting my Imperial Navy. And side note, I really hope they do the data cards for those, because I have those guys done, and they look great.
They're doing waves of Kill Team.
I mean, they're on the app, I think, right? So I haven't looked at the app version of them, but yeah, those models are great. I really dug the old edition. I think my only problem was that something about it felt fiddly, and I can never put my finger on it, because I liked the orders, I liked the conceal and the engage, but they felt almost arbitrary sometimes, and they don't feel that way to me anymore. And I'm not sure exactly how to put my finger on it.
I think it's more because it's easier to understand. The rules are definitely written in a way that's a lot easier to process when you're reading the rules, because before you would kind of get the feel for it by playing a lot of games. And also in the old edition of Kill Team, thoughts that I'll have about it, but like they also had TAC Ops. You had to pick what your objectives were every game, and it kind of was just like a little overwhelming as a new player, because you had so much prep, and you had to learn what your ploys were and all this stuff. So there's just a lot to learn.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool customization, because I liked the idea of having like, okay, well, my guy's mission is this seek and destroy thing, and I have to go do this one thing. Those are cool, but it's a lot to track, especially when you're trying to learn a whole team's abilities. So I can't speak to that too much, because we haven't done. There is the ops pack for the new edition that we haven't dug too much into, but from what I saw, it's not as complex. I feel like
similar, but they took away the faction specific TAC Ops, where you don't pick every faction doesn't have their own way to win or get points or whatever. Now it's built into the critical ops deck, where everybody pulls from the same one. Now kill teams do have types where like you might be a security, or you might be a seek and destroy type kill team. So there are categories of ops that you can pick for objectives, but also every game would also have kill ops, where you just get victory points for killing opposing players, which obviously is a goal. Like if you're going on a mission, you want to eliminate the opposition, so you should get victory points for that.
Yeah, and one thing about when we played before on the old edition, one of my initial thoughts, because I always approach these things as a game designer, and when I saw how the orders worked, and when I say orders, for people who haven't played Kill Team, when you have a single individual model, they will have an order assigned to them. Either they're concealed or they're engaged, or a conceal order or engage order. Conceal means if you're like near cover and you have a conceal, you're not a target. You're hiding essentially, and then and certain abilities will target that. And if you have your engage order, you can shoot. If you have conceal, you can't shoot. You can fight if you happen to be in combat, but you can't shoot. So those are the two distinctions, but they didn't feel that meaningful. But when I played the old edition, I kept thinking to myself, they had to have put this into the game because they were thinking about automated enemies or something, because these orders feel like they're a way to distinguish an automated target, in a way. And I thought I was crazy. I was like, oh, they haven't added any co-op solo, and then they do. So maybe they did it in the long term, had that in their heads when they designed that order system. But that was my first thought.
It works. It would work pretty well for like an infiltration style mission where you have enemy patrols walking around randomly, and then if you're concealed, they can't see you if you're in cover, but they can see you if you're out in the open. But you have to decide when you want to change, because one thing about Kill Team is your order matters not only for if you can be seen, but the actions you can take. Like if you want to shoot, you can only shoot if you have an engage order, or if you have a weapon that has like the silent trait that lets you shoot while concealed. Like snipers will a lot of times have that, or that Eldari guy that has throwing knives or whatever. So it's a way to limit your actions to see what you can do on your turn. It also do you want to expose yourself to start shooting because you want to get a kill, but then you can get shot at next turn, because once you decide your order for your activation, you mark your miniature, and then he stays in that order until he's activated again. When you activate him again, you can change that order.
Now that was different, right? That's the change.
I honestly have to look at the rules, because it's been so long since we last played the last edition that I think it's the same, but the one big difference was that when you start the game, you could pick which order you are, but now it just simplifies it, saying everybody starts concealed.
Okay.
Because you're sneaking into a mission, and that makes sense.
For some reason, when we started playing this new version, the choosing an order right when you activate felt like it was different, but maybe I was just thinking about it differently from the last time we played. I don't know, but yeah, I had to double check that too.
I think it's the same, but this is going to be a interesting review, because it had been so long since we last played the last edition of Kill Team that I might have gotten. I can't tell you exactly what is different with the new edition, the old edition, except for things that I might remember.
But there are plenty of YouTubers out there who do for you.
Yeah. The one thing I will say that I appreciate in this new edition is the rules are more concise. Now that being said, I did have some trouble finding the rules I wanted to find, because it's not like where I thought it was going to be. But every rule that I was looking for, I eventually did find it. And then they also had something that GW is doing now more regularly with their war games, is they have a designer commentary on the side of every page of the rules that kind of more casually explains reasonings behind rules, or gives an example of something. But sometimes that the rule you actually need is in there.
I was going to say that there was one rule that I couldn't find specifically, but it was in that in one of the commentary things. Yeah, it's very strange.
Improving and worsening a stat.
I think that was it.
That was only ever explained in the rules commentary. It's mentioned in the rules, but there's nowhere where it specifically says, if you improve a stat, do this. If you worsen a stat, do this. It's not specifically called out. It's pretty much you could. It's common sense, sort of. People would assume it's common sense, but someone who's new to the game will probably want to see explicitly called out, this is what this means. And that's a little. That was the one rule that I found a little bit disappointing, that it wasn't clearly defined.
Yeah, and I think that's just a result of them doing that approach where they're trying to strip it down to its most bare bones, least confusing version. And that's great, but in doing so, it's very easy to either leave out rules, or only mention them like one place and it's hidden somewhere. So that's kind of the trick you got to deal with, where you don't want to over explain. And I think one of the things I notice as a game designer, and I could be wrong, could be a preference thing, could be a regional thing, because I know there's UK English and US English, and sometimes, even though our grammar is very similar, sometimes like the reasoning behind the phrasing matters. And when GW words abilities, I find it so backwards and so overly complex that you could probably explain this in like one sentence, but it's like this whole paragraph that
especially with the cards, like the ploys and stuff, they do write them in like a tournament fashion, where it's like this has to be explicitly worded so there can be no disputes about it. Which I understand why they do that, but like it's not necessary for people like us, where we're just playing a game for fun. We don't need to know. We don't need to have everything spelled out exactly.
And almost always, it's always when they're trying to explain the timing window of when ability triggers. But it's like you could shorthand that so easily. Like you could have like a reaction, you could have whatever it is. But it's just, I feel like that could have been a little better. But that's not unique to this edition. That's just a general thing I've noticed when it comes to like specific abilities, especially ploys, like you said, or like one of the unique rules on a certain operative. They might have
I kind of wish what they would do would just like they formatted how they do actions now, where they have this green marker that says this is the effect, and then there's like red marker that says this is a condition. I like that because you can easily process what it does. It'd be kind of cool if a card, like a ploy or whatever, just said, hey, your guys can all move, get a free dash, and then it tells you how that happens. But like I know right away, oh, this is a free dash card.
Summary, like a summary card. Maybe that's something that, well, I don't know, I'd rather focus on designing missions, but I was like, maybe we could just do that because I know when I play a faction, I wouldn't mind making like quick reference cards, but having different versions where it's just because
I would, it'd be nice to say this card, this ploy is good to get your guys in cover fast or something.
Some little shorthand, just like, because like if you're explaining to your friend like, oh, that thing does this, just have that.
I think what makes it worse is that they have to call out the traits of a faction. It's like, it says choose one friendly Void Scar Corsair unit, and within 3 inches of a Void Scar Corsair Eldar, like, just lots of traits and stuff like that. They kind of it buries the effect. So.
And I have a little issue with that, because I think it's really cool when you're playing a joint op and you each have your own team, your own half a team, and you bring your own employees, your own equipment, everything. But like, for example, we were playing I was playing my was it my scouts in your Eldari?
Yep.
Yeah, and one of my guys was hurting, but his medic would only heal Eldari. I'm not going to heal that guy, so he couldn't even heal me.
All you 40k lore nuts, don't worry. We know that the scouts would never, Space Marine scouts would never go on a mission with Eldari, but it was a desperate time because we were fighting Nurgle. So, but we'll get more into that joint ops specifically. But there are a couple things I wanted to call out that I did really, really like about the new edition, and one of them I mentioned before was getting rid of the shapes for movement. That was one of the worst things they did in the old last edition.
I'll never understand it.
Honestly, when that came out, I did not buy the launch box of Kill Team because of that alone. I thought it was so silly, and it really bugged me because I was excited about Kill Team. The previous edition, I liked the idea of Skirmish 40k, but I wasn't going to buy that box with that. Like, for some reason, the shape movement was just, I don't know. Like, I just really, really didn't like it.
Do you think? I mean, this might be a side tangent, but do you think they did that hoping they could sell like specific rulers that were like?
I don't think so. I think they probably thought that they were making it more accessible, which I think it did the opposite.
Yeah.
Because if you go back, I eventually did get over it, and I just got into Kill Team, and I really liked it. But the shapes always bugged me because every time you read a rule, it made it way worse. And the previous rules for line of sight were a nightmare to process because they were like, oh, you have to be red square away from the terrain, but the target can't be within black triangle of the terrain, but also blue circle from anything else. It was ridiculous. Like, you could not process what that meant.
I'm sure this has been pointed out before, but why couldn't they just do that but then put the number in the shape? Like,
yeah. And also
so simple.
Also, the shapes didn't even make sense because I think someone else called this out where like the triangle, for example, was like the 2-inch mark, but there's 3 sides to a triangle. Why wouldn't that be 3?
And I forget what was a circle. The circle was like the biggest one, or was it the smallest?
I think the circle was 3. I think.
Okay, yeah, it's so bizarre.
I don't remember, but it's a shame because I actually painted up those movement plastic movement or measuring devices, but they have the shapes on them, so they're kind of useless. But I mean, I know what the distances are, but I have to repaint them with the new edition because they actually have the numbers on them. So that is one of the best changes, I feel like, because everybody who plays Warhammer knows how inches work. They know they have tape measures. They don't need to have special shape movements. But again, that also made rules much more difficult to write because you always have to say the shape instead of just saying 3 inches. It's like, you have to be triangle away, and your opponent's like, what's triangle? Oh, what's that?
It's not 3. That's what it is. I'll have to apologize for Adam though, because you're sitting on a wooden chair, and I don't know if the mic's
is it picking up the squeak?
I don't know. I don't know if the mic's picking it up.
I'll have to apologize for Brady's studio setup because
I'm fine. I'm sitting on a drum throne.
But you're putting me over here, so I'm stuck on this.
You can just squat.
So that was
just don't move. Just hit still.
That was one of my the big changes that I appreciate, and also that I mentioned the line of sight rules. Like those are now explained so much simpler in the new rules. They're way easier to understand. Line of sight was a little confusing previously. The other thing that I really appreciate, I mentioned earlier, was they got rid of the excessive objectives that you had to process when you were setting up a game. I had to decide which objectives I was taking, what my opponent was taking, and then we had to remember when we were scoring victory points every turn. It really slowed the game down. And again, we haven't played PvP in the new edition. It seems simpler, and it seems like it would play faster.
It's called the Approved Ops pack, right?
Critical Ops.
Well, it's like...
Oh, it's approved. Yeah, they call it approved. Yeah. It's like the seasonal. Yeah. Every year they're going to put out a deck of these cards that are just like the way to play pitched battles, basically. It's like you got to find an opponent, you whip out this deck, and then you can just play games.
That's what I want them to do for Joint Ops, is like just here's a co-op solo, even if it's like a kind of a quote-unquote generic, like here's some generic... the 3 missions in the core book are kind of just guidelines, but if they made a pack that's like just some randomized guidelines for Joint Ops, that could be really, really, really cool.
I guess this is another obvious thing that I really like about this new edition. Toward the end of the last edition, Brady got the starter box or the faction box for the Brood Brothers, and they came with is it Brood Brothers and the dwarves, right?
Yes, yeah.
They came with data cards, and I was so jealous because that's the one thing that always stopped us from playing, because we had to print off our own data cards. Because having this books open to reference your data cards, reference your ploys, reference your faction ops, all this stuff was just, you're holding a book the entire time. And like, I like books, but I don't want to hold a book the entire time I'm playing a miniatures game. So having them printed off on the table was great, but we had to print off these data cards, and they were huge. They took up the whole table. But I love the fact that these new kill teams came with data cards. So I was hoping that GW would release data cards for existing factions. And I always posted on their social media every time they post something about kill team, begging for it. But of course they were planning the new edition, and this new edition launched with all the factions getting data cards right away. Not only are they getting data cards, but they're actually a smaller format. They're like tarot size cards, and they kind of stripped away some of the information that needed to be presented on those cards so they could be smaller, but it makes playing the game way easier. I love it. If it wasn't for those data cards, I would be probably 50% less excited for this game. So those data cards are essential in my mind.
Yeah, even though they finally added like co-op solo skirmish, to the repertoire, which is fantastic, because GW, I felt was like a super overdue for that. But I think like even with that, I probably still would have also be a little less stoked about this game if it wasn't for the cool componentry they have. Like, I love the cards, I love the tokens, like I love the markers they have, like just everything they've incorporated is kind of on our wish list, so it's great.
Now I forget, does the Critical Ops pack come with equipment cards for universal equipment?
I'll have to double check that. It's got a lot of cards.
It has to, because you wouldn't be able to use equipment without those. And that's another thing that I was going to say about what I like so much about the faction data card packs. I got the Void Scar, Corsair, the Eldari team that I play. It comes with the data cards for all the kill team guys in the unit or in the faction. It also comes with the kill team structure, like how to build your kill team, like a reference card, which is awesome. Comes with token reference for what all the tokens mean that come with the miniatures. It comes with their ploys, the strategy ploys and firefight ploys as cards, which again make playing the game way easier. Also, it comes with the faction equipment cards and universal equipment cards, so you have everything you need in that pack, which again, in my mind, is essential. Those should be part of the standard product line of Kill Team, and I'm gonna probably be saying this over and over again until I'm red in the face, because blue in the face, I'd prefer to be blue in the face.
Well, blue is like when you're just out of breath, but red's when you're angry about it.
Both. Purple. No, purple in the face. But yeah, the data cards are one of the best things, one of the best changes for this edition. And I think those are my biggest points that I want to make about this new edition until we get to the actual joint ops stuff.
Yeah, and I kind of regret not. Well, I know I don't really regret it because it's expensive, but it sucks that one of us didn't get the Hivestorm box itself, because I'm curious to take a look at the dossier that came with it, because I don't know how much lore, background information they have for the kill teams, because I'm definitely going to be getting the brutal and cunning because I want the Ratlings, but I'm just curious what to expect in that dossier, because
usually a few pages of each
that's
faction.
enough, because I don't know much. I mean, besides what they have out there on with the wiki pages about Ratlings, I don't really know their place right now, like in the lore. So it'd be cool to get some background info on them. But
you're excited about the Ratlings?
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic, because I don't know how I feel about. I watched a video of this guy who was saying all these amazing abilities the Ratlings have and how like awesome they sounded. But every time he would say like, so I'm not really certain if they're going to be any good. I'm like, you just listed all the reasons they're going to be.
He doesn't even know their abilities yet. He's just
it's just a funny way to phrase it, where it's like they're not tough, they're not big armored guys, and it's like, whatever, man, they're great, they're gonna be awesome.
You can do a lot with rules in games to make things good. It doesn't have to be just judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed that we still don't know when the pre-order date's going to be, but I'm hoping like in the next week or two, either they mention it or they just go up for pre-order.
I bet it's a November thing, November release probably. I mean, we're already halfway through October.
Don't you?
I've been tracking this weekly.
Should we say anything else about the mission, or just drop it, or go get the mission? Or,
well, I want to talk more about joint ops.
Yeah, do that. Then we'll talk about the mission, and then we'll move on. So go ahead and talk about joint ops.
But I will say that I was going to mention on the Hivestorm thing, the Hivestorm box, I was a little bummed out that I didn't get it, mainly because of the kill zone. I just want the terrain. Mm-hmm. But luckily, they typically sell like kill zones. After the launch box, they'll break it up into pieces, and they'll sell the kill zone with the terrain itself.
They sold Gallodark, right? Yeah. Is it just Gallodark, or do they sell one of the other ones?
I mean, they did for a while, but
I meant with this wave of pre-orders. I thought it was
the last edition. What they usually did was they did a box with two factions and a kill zone, and then once that sold out, they would break them up and to sell the factions individually and the kill zone by itself. Again, this is a new edition, so they might do different things differently, but I have a feeling they're going to sell Volcus as its own kill zone, because why wouldn't they? They reference it in the rule book and the core rules, and the launch box is a temporary item. Once it's sold out, it's gone. That's where they release the starter box, because that's kind of the thing that stays in stock, which is a small starter box. So I would assume they're going to sell Killzone Volcus as its own product, which I will definitely want to pick up once I find a job.
Yes. Send your jobs. Pick up my book. If we get like a million of our viewers picking up my book, I'll share some of the money with you, and you don't have to worry about getting a job.
Go buy his book then.
So even if it's only like, I know we have like millions of viewers, but just 1 million of you guys pick up my book, then Adam won't have to worry about having a job.
I mean, if there's 1 million of them, you don't even bother buying, but just send you a buck. Send Zelia $1.
Yeah, but then I want the book to get out there so I can make a show, because it needs to be on Netflix. You guys, you've read the book, it needs to be a Netflix show. Come on. Anyway, that was tangent. Dude. Yeah, the cat's crazy. We're going back to...
Brady's cat keeps walking up and putting his hand on my leg trying to get me to pet him.
Loxley loves getting his head scratched. This is the Joint Operations Podcast. We're talking about joint operations now for the new kill team, and then we'll talk about the mission.
Yes.
So joint ops, this is kind of a combined thing, because we had a viewer question from Calvin. Not Calvin and Hobbes, but Calvin, about what our thoughts were.
Yeah, I will go ahead and read it verbatim, just so I don't get anything wrong. What's your first impressions of the solo and co-op mode? Haven't touched GW release in a long time other than Underworld, so I'm debating hopping back in with Kill Team. So, I will say Kill Team, co-op solo mode so far has been very fun. Now, for those who don't know how it works, in the Kill Team core book, they have these things called mission packs. And the mission pack is basically a structure of how you play the game. Because there's the core rules, and this just tells you, how to activate guys, how to resolve combat. The cat's scratching the mic stand, so I apologize if it's bumpy. He's rubbing his face against it.
Come here, Lox.
Go see your owner. But anyway, the core rules have the basic rules of the game, and then there are these things called mission packs. And the core book has 3 mission packs. It has the PvP one, the Joint Ops, which is solo co-op, and then the multiplayer one, which is multiple people playing battle royale style. So the Critical Ops card pack that came out, that is like the official tournament mission pack for PvP pitched battles. So that whole card deck supports that mission pack. So the Joint Ops mission pack is a 1 page of rules that tells you basically how to pick what they call NPOs, and NPOs are non-player operatives. These are just the AI that you're fighting against. And when you're picking your kill team, the game is set up to play as one kill team. So you pick your kill team, and it's set up to be a solo game. You can play it co-op, where you split the kill team up between players. So for example, if me and Brady and I are playing a mission, we split the kill team in half. We could just take the same kill team, split in half, or we could each pick our own kill team and then bring half of that kill team to the game. Also, you every time you start a game, you get 4 pieces of equipment. So if you're playing 2-player, we each get 2 pieces of equipment we can pick, and that kind of sets up your kill team.
I will interject there. The one, this is one aspect that I have some thoughts on, because I do like the options. I think it's cool thematically. Like we play Aldari, we split up your team. All of our guys interacted with each other. Like all their abilities could target each other. So you had a lot of what's that word? Synergy going on. So that was cool. But however, I felt like I lost a little individuality in a way, which is a minor thing, because usually I like being part of a team. But when we played the split one, and you played Aldari and I played my scouts, we each had all our own set of ploys. There's a lot more stuff to manage. If you know your team, it's fine. But if it's a new team, it's a lot to kind of swallow, having all of your Firefly ploys, all of your strategy ploys, all of your faction equipment, all that stuff. So it's kind of there's pros and cons either way. If you're new, I would advise you just split up one kill team.
I will personally say I prefer it myself. Like, we played both ways. I think it's cooler to play one kill team split in half, because you feel like you're playing the same team. And again, when you're learning the game, it also makes it easier, because every faction has 4 strategy ploys and 4 firefight ploys. Strategy ploys are played in the strategy phase. They're like orders you can play to start the turn. Firefight ploys are like abilities you can trigger during the turn. So you just split those in half. Each player gets 2 and 2. You have less things to manage. You have less things to keep track of, so it's a lot easier to learn. And again, you have the synergy between your team, because the rules for Joint Ops treat, no matter how many people are playing, they treat the players as one kill team. So you don't each get command points. You, as a group, you get command points to spend. So you have to choose how to spend those as a group. And then that's all about picking your kill team. Then when you pick your what they call NPOs, non-player operatives, usually it's based off of wounds. So you're basically picking total number of wounds of models, basically. So the NPOs, they provide 6 examples, and they're basically archetypes between brawlers and marksmen. And then there's troopers, there's tough, and there's heavy. Each type, brawler and marksman, have their own behavior that they follow when they activate. And they're general enough that you can use whatever miniatures you want. So any 40k miniatures you have, you can fit into these categories.
And they have a cool guide in the book, like a spread where it shows some examples, like here's what some marksmen might look like, here's what some troopers might look like, so they give you an idea of what you could use. But it's easy to design for, because you can just assume you use whatever is in your collection, or if it's a thematic thing, a thematic mission you're planning for, you can use the specific ones and just use different models to represent the different types.
And now I guarantee that Games Workshop, when they release these expansions for Joint Ops, they're going to have specific NPO data cards, which I'm looking forward to because they'll make the game way more interesting. The nice thing about these general ones is they're easy to remember. So once you are learning the game, it's very easy to just keep it going because you don't have to reference all these special abilities the enemies might have. So they're very simple. Also, going back to setting up the game, when you're picking equipment, it tells you should pick equipment for the NPOs as well. It says to stick with the universal, so they pick grenades or barricades. Anything that there's a lot of freedom to pick in the game that you want to play. So you could randomize this if you wanted. We have we're when you see our mission, you'll see how we kind of decide to do this.
And they could be mission specific too, where you have the mission will just tell you the very specific type of equipment they have for this mission. So they make it so it's very easy to design for in that regard.
Yeah, and when you're rolling for initiative in the game, the player goes first, gets 1 command point, and then the player who doesn't go gets 2 command points. In this NPO Joint Ops mission, it says during the strategy phase the NPOs will always pass, so they won't use command points to do strategies because they don't have any. The way we played it is they would still use the command points to reroll dice when needed, because one of the threat principle, which is the kind of the general rule they list for in Joint Ops, is that you always want to do what's worse for your team. So the AI, if there's you're ever conflict about, you're not sure what they should do, you should usually lean on what's worse for me, because you want to make the game as challenging as possible.
Yeah, when you're activating the NPO, you're just imagining your opponent, and usually, I mean, a lot of people would view that kind of skeptically, because if you're a board gamer, you might not really understand that. But when you're playing a minis game, you're more focused on just the overall structure of the narrative playing out. So it's you don't really care if one of your guys goes down. It's interesting to play it, see how it plays out. So it's kind of easy to get in that headspace of the NPO and see what is worse for our team, because that's the most interesting choices on your turn. Is
you're banging something over there, just so you know.
Is it me? I thought it was okay. Anyway, but anyway, yeah. So that's a good overview of how Joint Ops works. But
one more thing was the missions.
Oh yeah,
they include 3 missions in the game.
That's what it was. It's the water bottle.
The first one is basically just put the enemies out, kill all the enemies. The second mission is a sabotage mission where you go and you actually interact with objectives. You need to interact all the objectives to win, and the enemies can be reinforced, so even if you clear them out, they're going to keep coming. Our mission is kind of a twist on that. The future request that we're doing is basically taking that sabotage concept and expanding it. And then the third mission is escape, where you're basically just trying to get all your guys off the board on the other side of the board, so you're trying to survive. We played the first 2 missions. We played the Breach, which was the first game we played, was just kill everybody. We lost a lot of guys in that game. It was very brutal.
Only 2 guys left, right?
Yeah, I think so. And then the second game we played Sabotage, and that kind of inspired us to do this custom mission. And that one also, I think that was very close too. We started off very stupidly. I put the Death Guard all up on vantage points, and they had clear line of sight to us at the very beginning. And the heavy marksman NPOs can shoot twice on their activation, so they killed 3 guys right off the bat.
Nasty.
It's pretty bad. But anyway, that's the overview. I guess, did you have anything else to add before we go into thoughts?
No, just because he was asking what our thoughts were on it. So, I mean, that's having the context of knowing how all those things play out is important. But as far as, I guess, my thoughts are probably pretty straightforward. I think it works great for what it is. I'm just curious to see what they're going to add to it, because it is very much a framework right now. But it's enough. Like I always assumed, the game doesn't need a ton of overhead rules to make it work, because in my mind, when I'm playing a skirmish game, the most interesting thing is just a changing battlefield. I don't need a lot of complex thought going on with my opponent. I don't need to get into his head and figure out what he's doing strategy wise. All I want to do is see what plays out. So this does that very well. It just keeps the game flowing. So
yeah, I will say that it's nice because they kept it simple, so there's only 1 page of rules for 2 pages for Joint Ops because of the behavior charts and stuff. It's very light. It's up to the players. Hey,
stop chewing on the cord.
Get this cat out of here, man.
Lock you out.
So it's up to the players to put in as much as they want to, like, as far as strategy goes, like how tough they want to make it, how complex should we make this, do we want to use equipment, should we bother using command points for the enemies because they don't do anything other than reroll. So there's a lot of, also one thing that was not specifically called out is when you're doing a fight action, each person that's fighting in a melee rolls their attacks, and you line up your successes as dice, and you choose, starting with the player who's attacking, how to choose. You can either attack or you can block. Now, there's nothing specifically called out about what the NPO will do, so it's up to the player to decide what's worse. If that NPO is about to die and Brady, for example, is attacking him or getting attacked by him, that NPO could spend his critical to damage Brady's character, but maybe since he's almost dead, he's probably maybe wants to block so he can survive. It's up to the player to decide what that NPO does, because it's not specifically called out in the rules. Again, I think they did that on purpose because they want to leave that as flexible as the player wants, whether they want to be,
flip a coin. Yeah. Have a coin nearby, flip it. It's like, is he going to block or is he going to attack?
So, I mean, it's not really important for range, because range is just, are you, you block successes, but with melee, you have to choose if you're going to attack or block. And again, we were fighting with, poxwalkers, so we thought thematically poxwalkers are never going to block. They're just going to go nuts and try to eat you and stuff, just claw you to death. So there's a lot of, room for creativity, I guess. Room. What's that word where you're
improvisation?
No, you when you're trying to understand something, open to interpretation. That's it. There's a lot of room for interpretation about how you want to do the rules. Yeah. So I think it's a great start. I do think that people who want to buy Kill Team just for solo and co-op and don't want to do any homebrew stuff themselves, it's going to leave them wanting, because there's not a ton of content there. Now, if they are living up to their promise and they're going to be expanding this, then you might want to hold off until that first expansion if you're only buying Kill Team for solo and co-op and you don't want to do any custom stuff.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that as it is now, if this was all it was, they just put this out, it would be hard for me to recommend this game to people who are just looking for really compelling solo co-op, because this game, as it exists right now, requires a bit of creativity on your side, whether that's when you're playing the game, being creative on how the MPOs react and not being like, what do I do?
Even how they're set up. Yeah, they tell you what the MPO's drop zone is, but it's up to you to decide as a player where you're going to put these guys, because you have to assume that they are somewhat intelligent, and you're going to start them in cover and not out in the open.
And I think if you're a seasoned skirmish player, and when you're approaching this game, you're approaching the MPOs as you're playing this side also, you're playing both sides. So if you can approach it that way and be kind of objective in that regard, then it's gonna be great. It's pretty much giving you a way to play, like it promises, giving you a way to play solo when you can't have game night or whatever. So if you have a bunch of models, you want to use them and have a cool battle setup, this is a great way to do it. So.
Yeah. Now, that being said, if you are the kind of player that is open to loose rules and you're okay with making decisions yourself, and even maybe designing rules yourselves, and you want a game that you can play competitively as well, then absolutely this game is a great recommendation. It's fun. It's one of my favorite skirmish games. It plays fast. I mean, you can get a game in an hour. If you like 40K, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and then before we move on from Kill Team, I'll also mention again, we'll have the mission up for download, and there'll be a little narrative introduction there. But mainly, what we're trying to do is kind of play off what GW is doing with their releases, because with their Hive Storm box, they have this battle going on above the Hive City, which I forget the Hive City. Is it on
Volcus?
But is that the Hive City name, or is it? I forget. I'll have to double check, because it's in the flavor text. I'm just drawing a blank. But whatever's happening in the Hive Storm box is up in the skies. It's why it's called Hive Storm. And then the Brutal and Cunning is lower. It's there's a bunker being invaded by the orcs. So there's a chaos going on in the city to take advantage of it. And this takes that a step further, where our mission takes place in the bowels of the Hive City, where there's cults of Nurgle taking advantage as well of all the chaos in the city. They're trying to spread their noxious disease around below the city, and we're trying to stop it. So the players come in and try to crush some. Are they pox nests? Is that the term?
I'm not up on my Nurgle lore.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up, but we'll make sure
Nurgle loves to spread.
Yeah, and we'll take feedback. People can tell us what we're getting wrong, and we'll incorporate it into the narrative so it makes sense. But it's only got a light narrative there until we get deeper into maybe an ongoing campaign or something. So check it out.
And again, it's been play tested once.
Yes.
So
do some play testing for us.
If you enjoy it, if you find it challenging, great. If you have suggestions about things you want us to update, we're happy to do that. But we're also, just like how GW does it, we're giving this as an idea, and if you want to do anything else with it, feel free.
And we'll do these with, like, we're not doing a Patreon, we're not doing like a crowdfunding thing, we're just doing this, putting it up there. But it is some work. So if you want to support us, go buy Relic, Meyers and the Rhythms of Ruin on Amazon or wherever you buy your books. You can get on ebook, paperback, hardcover, audiobook, whatever you want. Pick your poison, get it. And I'll make sure I give Adam some money for it, because I get big royalties from that. So you can support us that way. But let's go on to, we have like 5 minutes left. We can go a little over if we need to, but video games. Diablo came out.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Diablo 4.
I don't have much to like talk about, but it's really cool. I'm enjoying the season so far.
The Spiritborn is completely broken right now. Like it's obviously the class is like S tier right in this season. It's just there's so many builds right now that, like, I think there was people that were pulling like trillions of damage or something with it. It's nuts. Clearly, it's going to be nerfed eventually, but I think it's. Not only is it new class, but it's the expansion class. So they want to make it exciting and fun to play. So people are going to be tempted to buy that expansion.
I feel the same way about the rogue. They added that knife dance ability, which is a channeling ability. So now you're just like, you hold the button down and your rogue dances around, throwing blades everywhere and melts everything around him. I wouldn't say overpowered, but it's definitely pretty dang powerful.
I'm very bitter that this first expansion brought a new class that was not a paladin or a crusader. But I am playing the Spiritborn, the new class. It's fun. I'm playing a gorilla build, which is like all about thorns damage. I'm stacking thorns damage. Just wrecking stuff in Torment 1 right now. Honestly, I'm already almost done with the season. It's only been out for a week, but I'm unemployed, and I can only apply for so many jobs in a day, so I've been playing a lot of Diablo to distract myself.
You were also playing a new game today, right?
Yes. There was a game that I played with my wife like crazy on Xbox. I think it was like a year ago. Heroes of Hammerwatch, which was a over the gauntlet style roguelike game where you just had a town, ran into mines, went dungeons, and just pushed as far as you could until you died. You came back to town, upgraded, did it again. Typical roguelike. It was a really fun game, but they have a new one, Heroes of Hammerwatch 2, that's coming out, and they just dropped a demo out of nowhere on Steam, which I was playing this morning with my coffee and got sucked in for like 2 hours or something. But it is even more fun than the first one. I cannot wait till this game comes out. If you have not played Heroes of Hammerwatch, I would recommend you get it. It's pretty cheap probably, but even if you don't want to buy it, go on Steam, grab Heroes of Hammerwatch 2 demo and try it out, and thank me later. It is really fun. I should note there's only 3 classes though. There's a Paladin, Ranger, and Wizard. Typically in Heroes of Hammerwatch, there's they also add like the Priest, the Warlock, the something else like Thief, and yeah, they add classes. They add a lot of classes. So
cool. So before we talk about what we've been watching and wrap this bad boy up, we have some listener questions. Blackheart Paladin came in and asked us what our favorite, most proud of Lorengard song. And I think for me, it's tough because people always say, oh, it's hard to choose your favorite child, but because I like a lot of songs on the album. I think probably my favorite song and the one I'm most proud of is combined is Wrath Divine, because I think that was like one of the earlier songs we started tinkering around with. And I really love the dynamics of that song. I love the breakdown, and then I get to yell in it. Like Adam and I are having a little dialogue exchange in that one where you're saying a prayer and I'm yelling at you. But overall, I think that's probably the most dynamic. Well, I wouldn't say most dynamic. There's a lot of dynamic songs on the album, but it's like, I think it's one of the most unique songs out there.
I would say it's one of my favorite. It's about my character, and it's about Claire killing a bunch of zombies, stuff like that. So like, it's exactly what I want. But there are, again, it's really hard for me to pick a favorite because that whole album I can listen to start to finish. It's so good. The songs all feel so different, and I will call out a couple honorable mentions though, because Greenstone is a very upbeat, like poppy song that's really good for people who don't necessarily like care about power metal. They don't want to listen to like, fast power metal. I think that song is a song anybody can enjoy. My daughter always loved Dragon's Bane. I don't know why. She just loved that song. And then the one I also always loved playing live was Black Sails, Phoenix Flames. That song was a wonderful, wonderful outro. Like the last song to play to close the set. It was great.
It's good. It's a fun song to play. And then we have a Halloween movie question. This one's going to be hard for me because I haven't seen all these movies. So Blackheart Paladin again asked, put these movies in order from favorite to least favorite. So there's Lost Boys, Monster Squad, Tremors, The Frighteners, Demon Knight, and then honorable mention is Ernest Scared Stupid. For me, it's easy because of those movies, I've only seen 2 or 3. I know I've seen Ernest Scared Stupid, which is the top one for me. Tremors, I love that movie. It's corny, but I love it. Kevin Bacon. So that's probably 2. I've only seen parts of Lost Boys, I think. I don't think I've ever watched it all the way through. I know it's a
I definitely
classic,
have. I've definitely watched that one.
And I don't know what The Frighteners... I mean, I should know what Monster Squad... they sound familiar, but Monster Squad, Frighteners, and Demon Knight, I'm not sure about.
Yeah. Ernest Scared Stupid, man.
It's so bad, so good.
Was that the one where he was throwing milk?
No, yeah. It was supposed to be milk, but he thought he's like it was missing a letter, so he's like, "Oh, it's Miak you hate," which is like some kind of molasses or something.
I never even heard of that until that movie. I was like, "What the hell is Miak?" I have seen Lost Boys. Honestly, Tremors is a classic, but I'd never considered that a Halloween movie.
Yeah. It's got monsters, but yeah, I think for Halloween movies, I always lean towards slasher flicks. So that's kind of why I was surprised to see these point out because like for me, I mean everyone's got their own like throwback like spooky movies, but for me it's always like Halloween. Like the movie Halloween is definitely a Halloween movie, like slasher movies.
Scream.
Conjuring, Scream.
My daughter loves Scream. She always wants to watch Scream.
It's got a weird charm to it. It's like a cozy horror movie.
For some reason, she just loves movies about teenagers getting murdered.
It's a human nature thing. I mean, we did too when we were teens. It's just like it's the thrill.
I think for me, Scream was a big deal because that was one of the first horror movies I like let myself watch because it was like mainstream pop culture whatever. But I never watched horror movies as a kid. And then once I watched Scream, all of a sudden I just started watching all the horror movies I could find. So
I think we'll have, since when it's closer to Halloween, since we're doing weekly episodes, the one before Halloween we'll have like more Halloween content to talk about because I could go on out scary movies for a long time.
I did just watch the
hey wait, save it, we're doing the watch segment.
We usually do that first. That's weird.
No, we don't. We do questions and then the last thing we close out with is what we've been watching. Here's another question. Will you do a reskin? This is from Nate, by the way, Nemesis Nate. Will you do a reskin of Heroes of Terranoth? What theme world would you want to do? Maybe the Alter Quest universe? It's funny that we rethemed this several times. They just haven't been released yet because of weird problems. But
we did have that the rework into Alter Quest.
No, not Alter Quest. It was not Alter Quest.
Well, I mean,
here's the thing. Let me preface this. Alter Quest is gone. The universe that we built for Alter Quest was kind of temporary because what it became was the world that I set my fantasy novels in, which is the Malice of Light. It's a hexology. You can get books 1 and 2 on Amazon right now, available in hardcover, paperback, ebook, audiobook, your choice.
Yes, he does this at family reunions and everything. So don't.
Yeah, well, it's really hard, of a publisher. The Acrid Sky is book 1, and it kind of sets the scene of this world. But anyway, that is kind of what became of the Alter Quest universe of what it originally was. So anything we do that would be Alter Quest is going to be set in Aetha, which is where the Malice Light takes place. In terms of retheming it, like I said, we have done it before. We rethemed it to be in Aetha for the Heroes of Aetha, which was going to be following up our Lasting Tales game, but since that never came out, and I don't know what's the status of it currently, who knows, but we do still have Heroes of Terranoth. The design is ours. The content is ours. We own that box, so we could just republish it as whatever. But we just, haven't had the the right situation to do so, but it's still possible, I guess, because we still have all the files. So we have we have rethemed it, and sort of in the Alter Quest universe, because the Alter Quest universe now is the Aether universe, the Malice of Light universe. But that is all of our questions. So now, before we talk about what we've been watching, I forget if I mentioned this last time on what we've been reading, because I'm still reading the Stephen King Dark Tower series, but I picked up this book when I was in St. Louis. I forgot if I mentioned it, because I don't know if I started reading it yet, but this author named Ronald Malfi that I met up with, he is a pretty popular author. I've never read his stuff, but I just got one of his newer books called Small Town Horror. It's got a very Lovecraftian vibe to it, but it reminds me kind of like It from Stephen King, where a bunch of adults come back to their childhood hometown and it's creepy stuff happening, but a good book. So far I haven't finished it yet, but it's pretty cool, and Ronald's a really cool guy. He's a singer and guitar player for a band called Veer, Veer. So we got to chat about music a little bit. Cool dude. But that's what I've been reading. Watching. Adam doesn't read, so what have you been watching?
I did read this week.
What'd you read?
I read the Kill Team Rulebook.
The Kill Team Rulebook. I meant like literature.
I don't know. I think you should cut this section, because I'm never going to have anything to add to this, because I just don't read books anymore.
It's going to be a pressure. Now you're going to feel like you have to.
Maybe when after I find a job and I have lots of free time, I'll just read a book every now and then.
The background noise is getting absurd. My son's down here causing a bit of a ruckus.
Don't jump on that medicine ball, dude. You're going to hurt yourself. So watching.
What have you been watching?
I'm still doing my annual rewatch of The Walking Dead.
Hey, plug your mouth up.
So I'm watching Walking Dead. Last night I randomly decided to watch The Butterfly Effect with my daughter. It was on Netflix. It was just on the deep recommendation to you. I'm like, well, I haven't seen that in a while. Ashton Kutcher. Huh? I remember seeing that as a kid, though, and being kind of disturbed by some of the stuff. So I was like, maybe Amelia likes disturbing stuff. So
it's not Ashton Kutcher.
Kutcher. I think that's the only other new thing out of the ordinary I watched this week, because Rings of Power ended. Yeah. I haven't been keeping up with Agatha all along. I should probably catch up with that.
Yeah, I'm behind on that as well.
I also hadn't kept up with the Vox Machina. That's typically the weeks that Amelia's at my house, we don't get to watch as much stuff. Then when it's just me and my wife, we watch stuff.
The new British Bake Off started, right?
I don't never watch that show, really.
You should. Those things people always tell you to do, and you're like, I don't think it's for me.
No, I mean, I'm sure I like it. There's just so many freaking things to watch that I just
I know, but this one just started, so it's perfect. So it's only got 3 episodes, but I've been watching the British Bake Off with my wife. I don't think I've watched all the seasons. I think it was season 12 or something, but it's good so far. Enjoyable. It's always a good cozy Friday night watch. Last night, my daughter Riley wanted to watch a classic horror movie, so we watched Nightmare on Elm Street, and then she liked it enough, I guess, that we watched Nightmare on Elm Street 2, which is a bizarre movie that I'd never seen. I just realized I might have seen clips of it as a kid, but that is just you can read the backstory of that movie and just the weird. It's become like this cult classic, especially in the gay community. It's a very gay movie. It's just very, very strange, weird choices made in that movie. But overall, I think it was pretty entertaining. There were some really cool scenes, like dream sequences, that I thought was better than the original. But yeah, the first one is still a classic. Second one is just bizarre, but I'm glad I watched it, and I think we're gonna finish out the franchise eventually before Halloween. So. That's what we've been watching, and we should probably wrap it up, because this yoga ball nonsense is going to get really loud, and I'm sure it's going to drop our ratings.
Forgot these kids weren't in school this week.
Yeah, it's a week off school, fall break. Oliver, hey,
what?
Come here for a second. We're going to wrap up there, and before we leave, Oliver is going to tell you his favorite part. Come here, stand right here, and talk into this mic, and tell them what your favorite part of Minecraft is. Close to the mic.
My favorite part of Minecraft is trying to beat
the game. You can beat Minecraft.
How do you beat Minecraft?
You have to kill the Ender Dragon.
The Ender Dragon.
Have you not killed the Ender Dragon yet?
No,
Have you found him?
I have, but I died really quickly to him.
Oh, okay. We got to keep trying then, all right?
Get yourself some redstone armor and a redstone machine gun. And you can take him down.
Which
I opened a door here.
Yeah, let's wrap it up there before you...
machine gun exists.
Okay,
and
no-
redstone armor doesn't exist.
No thing is redstone armor,
That's a
so
bummer.
Brady's got to learn some stuff about Minecraft.
All right. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Another episode of Joint Operations. Go pick up Relic Meyers. Everything's in ruin. It's still available. And we'll see you
Go
next
check out
week.
that
get our
putrid
mission.
request.
Yeah, jointoperationspodcast.com. Stick together. It's
You
rough out there.
should have said I had a putrid request for you.
I got a putrid request. I was going to name the episode that, but no. We'll just call it. We'll call it there. Later.
All right, see ya.